For years, Vizzers looked like Ducati control. Today looked different. Bezzecchi takes it. Aprilia shows death. Acosta confirms his trajectory. And Marc's title charge, one tire away from disappearing. This is The Angle. I don't know how you're going, mate.
Yeah, around yourself, matey. Oh, hard hitting journalism. Yes, here we go. This week on The Angle. You, my friend. You do it well. You're wasted. You should be doing those movie voiceovers. One man whose goal is to. Oh. Hey man, so we've had an actual MotoGP race. In fact, we've had two races. We've had a sprint race, and we've had a main, well, what do they call it? A race. So it's a sprint race and the race. And both have been epically fun. You know, the beginning of the season, we set our goals are not who's going to win or what's going to happen. It doesn't matter. We want good racing. Yeah, good racing. Two good races. And how cool is that?
It has been a bit of a surreal experience seeing Marc being hunted down by Pedro Acosta both yesterday and today. And I'm to be honest with you, I'm not sure what to make of it.
Acosta rode so well in both the sprint and the main race. Yeah, he was just. So I mean, keep in mind this is just his third year in MotoGP. We kind of forget that. And the bike, he said it's improved. They sort of downplayed the role of the KTM during testing, and it just seems that in his hands it's just working so very well. And it's a bit of a conundrum, as you said, because the only hands it seems to be working really well in is Acosta. You look at the other KTMs, especially the two. I mean, Binder had his usual he had a very solid race. He was out there. He was doing okay. He was up there with some good names, but I mean, I fear that where Binder is now is more the kind of level of where the KTM is. I think Acosta is just riding the wheels off that thing, and especially on the brakes going into those Ducatis are so good at drive. The drive those things get out of the corner. I remember Jack Miller was saying the problem when he was talking to Top Rack about sort of the tire issues, because those Michelin's is Top Rack. We'll get to Rosgat Leoglu during the show, but as Top Rack said, the problem with those Michelin's, once they start spinning, they don't stop spinning. So no matter what you do with the throttle, no matter how you try and manipulate, they just keep spinning. Once the traction goes, it's gone. And Miller was saying the big thing that the Ducatis have is that they're so gentle on the tire coming out of the corner. And he says even if you listen to those Ducatis, they're so gentle on the way they accelerate, and they just sort of nurture the tire so well. They get such good drive. So that KTM doesn't quite have that. I know Binder always was never happy with traction on that thing. He also had the same problem as Rosgat Leoglu. He said the thing just kept spinning. But you look at the way they go into corners, especially Acosta, the way he's able to get that front planted going into those corners. It was just. No, he rode well. I mean, okay, we got Bezzecchi winning. I mean, that happened too. But I think Pedro Acosta, I mean, the way he rode the wheels off that thing. Sure. He is that talent everybody was talking about it from his Moto3 days. He is that talented.
Obviously, Pedro is good. But I was thinking to myself, are the KTMs better? Or do you think is the tire? Do you think behind the scenes there's been a bit of development on that tire? Because the other bikes all of a sudden seem to be able to get around on the tire. Do you think there's been a bit of development there?
Well, usually when there is a new tire launched, I mean, remember that Michelin's a sole tire supplier. They don't need to develop new tires. I mean, it's not if the manufacturer's having serious problems, or they find there's a way they could genuinely try and help you, then they will. But usually, no. I mean, this is the downside of a single tire manufacturer is there's not really that much development. In fact, a lot of the manufacturers don't like it when they bring out a new tire because it kind of resets everything they're doing. They build everything around this tire. And when you bring out a new tire, then suddenly what they built around doesn't quite work, and then they have to go back to the drawing board and kind of redesign around the tire. So generally the tires they'll change compounds and that, but there's no big kind of restructuring. I think everybody's just getting better at it. And one thing you notice is that the Aprilias were always very good at kind of similarly to what happened with Acosta. They were very good at braking, very good at running corner speed, but they never had the drive of the Ducatis. And here, this time around, we saw, especially with Jorge Martin versus Marquez, I mean, those Aprilias were there. Those Aprilias were running up next to those Ducatis. So I think the drive that they get, especially, and also they got those aero things where they use the elbow. Did you see that? They use his elbow to block those little slots on the top. It's so ridiculous. I mean, just the very thought of it. So while the riders, to help with the aero, they use their elbows. They block it. We're at that stage in our lives where the riders getting under the ferries need to use their elbows to block little slots to make them go faster. That's how, I mean, it's genius, but it's also quite ridiculous at the same sort of time. So those Aprilias seem to just, I mean, right now, can I just sort of put something into context here? So this Chang circuit in Thailand is a different circuit. It's not your typical circuit.
Yeah.
It's a very harsh circuit. It's very hot in terms of the weather is extremely hot. And it's very harsh in that it's got a lot of very tight corners that sort of go onto straight. So it's you know, the amount of pressure, especially on the rear tire, is harsh. So this may not be the kind of norm. We may not be saying, okay, that's it, Aprilia has it for the rest of the year. Marquez is going to struggle. Acosta this. At this track, the Aprilias did very well. The Ducatis were not as good, and Pedro Acosta did very well at this track. 2 or 3 weeks from now, we're going to Brazil. That might be different. Then it's Kota. That's different. And I think even Marquez says it, when you get to Jerez and you get to the sort of normal, the European circuits, that's when you really start seeing where everybody is. By that stage, when you're at Jerez and we're seeing the results there, by then we kind of know. So this is preliminary. Before we know, we're going to get to Brazil and you'll find those Aprilias absolutely struggle and Marquez is going to win by half a lap. We don't know yet. So let's see.
We had the testing in Thailand, and obviously there was time to develop and get it there. So they spent a lot of time there. And I don't know, but does Marc look healthy to you?
He's not his usual overly confident, overly sort of forward self. He looks, in this race, he looked a bit like, you know, his last year on the Honda, where he could sort of run quite up front, but he'd sort of resigned himself to the fact that he doesn't have a strong bike. He looked a bit like that, which is, it's grown up for him in a way, because a Marquez 4 or 5 years ago would have put everything on the line to go with Bez. He would have gone, no, that's it. That's Bez. I need to catch him. And he probably would have crashed his brains out. The fact that he actually chilled out and just sort of said, okay, this is where I am. First race of the season. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's relax. Let's just go where we go. We've got a whole season to figure this out. It was a level of maturity that I think Marquez in the last 5 years has had to learn. And it is something, I mean, he's only in his 30s. Shame, he's just a little kid, you know?
Compared to us, he is, but in the paddock, he's an old man.
Yeah. But his shoulder, I mean, he does say his shoulder's not great. He did say he was struggling on new tires. And we saw right from the beginning, he was getting dropped left, right, and center. And then as the tires wore in, he was able to put up more of attack and more hangout until the tire really let him down. And sure, there's two bits of kind of Marquez Skinner. There's the sprint race whole kind of scandal. I'd love to talk about that. But the tire thing, and it was something I suspected. Like, he came around and then all of a sudden he was at turn 4, which is a very fast left-hander. And all of a sudden he goes off the track and then he's wobbling like this all over the show. And then they show the tire, the wheel with a big dent in the wheel. Now, we in South Africa, with all our potholes and that, we are expert at dented wheels. We know them very, very, very well. And a lot of people were saying, no, obviously that happened before, or we had a puncture in the corner, all of that, which might have been. But then they showed the replay, the onboard in particular. And when he got to turn 4, he was hauling into that corner. He went in full lean. And no, I'm sorry, if you've got a puncture, you don't go in full tilt like that. You will not. I mean, and the bike will go all over the show, or you'll stand it up. What did happen, though, is he hit the curb. Now, the curbs are slightly raised up. And I think he even nicked the kind of corner of the curb. He went and he ran really wide. He nicked the corner of the curb. Now, usually that's not a problem. It's a fairly gentle sort of thing. But he hit it while he was at an angle. He was still well leant over, and he hit it. And if you look at, they've got photos of those bikes. Have a look at them. When they're in the corner, they're leant far over. And you see the inside of that tire. Those sidewalls are soft. And when they're leant over like that, the actual sidewall squashes right in. So the rim of the tire is only about that far away from the actual track. Now you hit you hit a curb with the tire only all the way over there. Normally a bike would stand up
Directly.
and then the rim lifts up, but he was the rim was only that far. And remember, this is a very lightweight wheel. That wheel's made for lightness, and it's designed to take an overall pressure, not a sudden thump. You know what I mean? So he went over, the rim would have hit just the curb, just lightly, a slight little thing, but that was enough, and it would have dented it. And the moment that happened, the air went out, and then all of a sudden he's wobbling all over the place. So that is, I think, what happened. And quite frankly, he got turn 4 a little bit wrong. Normally it wouldn't have been such a bit of a problem. He would have gone a little bit off the track, rejoined almost immediately, and probably maybe not even lost anything. But this time it just happened to get it in exactly the wrong place, the wrong lean angle, the wrong time, and bad luck.
In saying that, Marc doesn't usually make these mistakes in races where we'll run over track, especially sitting in. I think at the time he was jousting with Martin, was he? No, sorry, Pedro. He had a battle with Pedro, and Pedro then started to pull away with him, and he was trying to chase him in. And I know he was on a very fast lap at the time, and then he made that mistake. And it's just not Marc 2025, is it? Yeah,
that is Marc early 2010s. In the 23rd, trying to push a bit too hard. And I know he was. So I was watching the lap times. I had the live timing going, and all the bikes were doing sort of a similar kind of lap. I think it was 31 kind of 4, 31.5. All the bikes were sort of doing, and then Sonny Marquez put in a 31.1. Now, okay, that's not to say Marquez will suddenly remember that the riders are riding a marathon. It's a long race. You cannot go absolutely flat out. You'll run out of energy, you'll run out of fuel, and your tires will destroy themselves. So I think, and riders they'll sort of time it and go, okay, we're at this stage of the race, I can push a few laps. So it looked like Marquez was pushing a few laps, to see if he can gap up to Pedro Acosta. And you feel your way through. The tires maybe start getting a bit hot, and you sort of say, okay, I can't do that. So he was starting to gap a little bit, and obviously just got it a little bit wrong. Made a bit of a mistake, and as I say, he just hit the curbs at exactly the wrong angle, exactly the wrong place, and bad luck. We don't know if Pedro Acosta at the same time, I'm sure, was not riding absolutely. He was also in marathon mode, and what often happens is when the rider behind starts pushing a little bit, the rider in front will come past, see on the pit board this rider's closing, and also push a little bit. So it's possible Marquez could have put in more of an effort to get a podium. Maybe Acosta would have counted it. Maybe they both would have run out of tires. We don't really know, but it was interesting up until that point.
And then just down the pecking order, Rahul Fernandez, he was doing a really stellar job. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't expecting it. The guy I did pick was Ayogura, and he had a storm from the back into the field there. I was really impressed. And Brad, I thought he ran a good race.
I wish Brad had a little bit more speed. Okay. I do suspect that Acosta's just that good. The dude is on another. It's possible he is the best rider on the circuit right now. I know there's all the Marquez, this and that, but it's possible that either all the KTM riders are not great, or just Acosta's really good, or that bike is not that good. And I was sitting with some friends, and they were talking about Binder. Obviously, we're all South Africans, so we're talking about Binder. We're talking about what he needs to do, and a lot of people are saying he's losing his ride. And I said, even if he doesn't stick it out with Acosta, he needs to definitely beat the Tech 3 boys. That must be his number one goal, definite beat the Tech 3 riders. Number 2, try and get as close to or even beat Acosta. That's like your kind of top number 1 prize. But what he has to do is beat the Tech 3. And today he did quite easily. And then this is against Maverick Vinales and Enea Bastianini, 2 well-known names in racing. Okay, looks like Vinales had a big problem. He was behind the Yamahas for a lot of it. So I don't know what was there, but he beat Bastianini. And so that kind of shows. Binder was not slow. He definitely wasn't slow. You can't compare him just to Acosta. It just means Acosta's really fast. And Binder's not slow. He did the right kind of thing. And he stuck it out. He didn't make any mistakes. And he managed to... He was back to 11th at one stage. And then I think he got past Bagnaia. Bagnaia's tyre... I don't know if you saw, there was a photo of Bagnaia's tyre. That rear tyre was just shattered. It was just destroyed. Binder got past him, and then three riders in front of him. There was Alex Marquez, Marc Márquez, and Mir all knocked out, and he got back to 7th. So that was it. Just stick to your race, stick it together, keep getting at least good top 10, stay ahead of the Tech 3 boys, and you're doing a good enough job. I do think, if he really wants to impress, he needs to start working on figuring out how his teammate does it and doing that. But it's a tall order, isn't it? It would be nice, but again, we'll see. There's a whole season still to go.
And Ben, obviously, yesterday was a really interesting little situation on the track. There was sprint. There was contact. There was a penalty enforced, and Marc graciously fell back. And afterwards, you could see he was upset. He's competitive, but he had his water. He got up and he went over and he apologized. And I think for Marc, being the rider he is, it's not such a big thing, but everybody else thinks it's a huge thing. And I'm like, it's not such a big thing, man. It's a first race. He still had 9 points.
All right. To me, it's a big thing, but not so much the incident. The incident itself was not that big a thing. The decision made by the steward, that was a big thing. And I'll tell you why. Okay. So you and I, Donnie, we used to race sort of together at the same time. I started racing in the sort of mid to early 90s and raced through the 2010s. I sort of stopped racing somewhere in the about 2015, round about there. So dare I say, I'm a little bit more kind of old school racing. In MotoGP and a lot of racing today, there's this new sort of culture that's kind of happened. So so why I think this is exactly the right. I thought Simon Crafar made exactly the right decision, and I'm glad he did this. And for a very specific reason, and it's to do with the new culture of racing. Now, Simon Crafar he's an old school gentleman racer. I trust his opinion on what's right or wrong and what's fair and what's over the line and what's not more than anybody else. Because, for example, the Marquez supporters were not happy with that. A lot of them were sort of spitting fire. Acosta said that no, there was nothing wrong with the move, and he would have done the same thing. I think even there were a few of the other races were also going, no, that's not the same thing. But there's two problems with that. First of all, they will say that, because if you nowadays start saying that was a harsh move, they're going to have the entire Marquez fan club, millions of people, and they're going to attack you. So don't criticize Marquez. Don't do that. It's just not a good PR image. You know what I mean? So the riders won't. So even if
and your future next year in Ducati.
Yeah, so don't. So even if maybe Acosta or some of them thought that was a bad move, they're not going to say so. However, even if they did think there was nothing wrong with it, it's highly possible they did, because again, this is cultural. I trust Simon Crafar more. Now, why I say it's cultural, because it's not just Marquez. This is not about Marquez and Pedro Acosta. It's a more cultural thing. Nowadays, let's go back to like the 90s. You and I started watching, even before that, late 80s, we used to watch Rainey, Schwanz, Lawson. After that, we went on to the likes of Crivellet. We went on to the Rossi era, all of that kind of thing. In those days, if you wanted to overtake, it was a challenge. It was a proper challenge, and it involved skill, it involved determination, it involved those, and it involved something of respect. There was a respect thing about it too. Okay, you needed to get past the rider in such a way that cleanly, and there was a little bit of argy-bargy, but you had to be fast enough to be able to brake later than the rider and still make the corner. Even if it was close. So Rossi had a few where people rubbed fairings, but generally you kind of had to brake and make the corner. Nowadays, if you want to get past, just go. So even if you go into the corner too fast, it's fine. And we've seen a bunch of riders do this. Marquez done it a few times. We've seen a few others. Just go. Even if you're going into the corner too fast, get your wheel in there and you force the other rider to stand up and go wide. And this has been happening a lot. Sometimes even like we had Aldeguer and Binder at Portimao last year, where Aldeguer actually went in, bumped Binder and just pushed him wide. And just pushed him out of the way. Of course, Binder, they said to him, how was that? And Binder went, yeah, that's. I'm pretty sure he didn't think that. I'm pretty sure he was in his motorhome afterwards, swearing and cursing at this guy. But you're not allowed to say that. You have to say, oh no, it's nice, but it's not nice. It's not great. It's not skillful. It's not sporting. It's none of those things. I would prefer, let's go back to the old days where if you're going to overtake, do it properly. Be a skilled rider. Be a respectful rider. Do it properly. Brake later than the person. Be a better rider than the person in front of you. And be able to brake later and still make the corner. In this instance, Márquez went in there. I mean, maybe they did touch a tiny bit, yes. But Márquez was running wide. He was too fast for that corner. He didn't go off. But then again, he didn't get a clean line out. He had to go run all the way to the outside of the corner, and then he was able to stand up. He nearly went. He was too fast. But that's the culture. You go in too fast and just push the other guy wide. That is not overtaking. That's not sportsmanship. That's not racing. Stop it. And I think that's okay. I will give you a moment now. And remember, this is the beginning of a new year. So people are going to say, yeah, but what about last year? And remember, the stewards sit down at the beginning of every year and go, okay, what are we going to do? And I damn well hope this is the new president. And I think Márquez referred to it possibly because, he will. He'll go and speak to say, what's this? And he's going to say, mate, you're not doing that anymore. This whole idea of, riders just pushing other riders off and just forcing other riders out of the way. I hope they put a stop to it because no, do it properly, overtake properly, show respect. And one day soon, I mean, it also relies on the other rider seeing you and having enough time to react. One day that's not going to happen, and you're going to have two riders hit each other very hard, and we're going to see we could see disaster. So I say, as a culture thing, I hope they put a stop to this whole just go and push the other rider wide. And I hope that Simon Crafar keeps this up and he does it for all riders, not just Márquez, not just Acosta, everybody.
Because I analyze things quite a bit. And when I looked at this in slow-mo, if you go look at the footage, you can clearly see Pedro Acosta is tipped in, his elbow is down, he's looking through the corner. And like you say, Marc had come in there so hot, his elbow wasn't down. He was going to run wide no matter what. He was just way too fast in that corner. So you are right. You are right.
As I say, it's not about overtaking. No, you just go. Get brake too late, run in too fast, and it's fine because you just force the other rider wide. And as I say, the culture is that's fine. Right now, the culture, that's fine to do. I'm saying, Mr. Crafar, keep this up. Make sure they know it's not fine. And I like the penalty. Just drop a place. So no, mate, you got past, but that was not on. That was not a good overtaking. Give it back. Try again, and keep that up. So I mean, if a rider does do something like that, no, mate, give it back. Let that rider through. Try again. Do it properly this time. And it's good because it's not such a big penalty that riders are going to be too scared to try and overtake. They'll still try, but they'll think more carefully about it. If you know what I mean.
If Simon Crafar can keep that up, I think we might just have our riders safe. But obviously we had the testing in Buriram. We had the opportunity to see it all now. Like you say, it's a very different track to the other tracks. And I don't know if it's going to pan out the same way when we get to Brazil, Kota right after that, up to Qatar after that, and then we're going to start seeing European circuits. And I think in that time, even in the next 3 weeks, there could be a big turnaround in that Ducati camp.
Ducati are not a stationary company. I mean, we were joking. Mr. Delino was sitting there looking a little bit kind of, with his monobrow was looking extra, kind of stern this time round. But we kind of joked tomorrow, Monday, Mr. Delita is gonna get him a phone call. Hello, this is the secretary of Mr. Dominicali. Mr. Dominicali asks you to please come see him in his office immediately.
You're in trouble.
Yeah, but I wonder what's going on there. I mean, the Ducatis, it's one of those things. Remember, we kept saying testing means nothing, and all through testing, we all said those Ducatis look so strong. And then, so is this track just a special track? Maybe they don't work at this track, but when we start getting the European circuits, it does work. These guys are clever. I mean, Ducati, it's not a manufacturer that just sort of rests on its laurels. They will stay changing stuff. They will adapt. They will evolve, and maybe already they've kind of set up for everything else. But when we look at it last year, I mean, I saw the memes. It was the Marquez brothers 1-2. This year, the Marquez brothers DNF. It is a massive turnaround, and I mean that must be a little bit worrying. And Aprilia has obviously changed a lot. They've moved up a lot, adapted a lot, and it's kind of funny because when they first came to the series, I remember us joking that the bikes were built in a shed behind the factory. You know what I mean? It was just such a small team, and it's amazing how they've kind of just chipped away and kept at it and kept kind of evolving, and they've got something very good now. But we did say that our number one goal this year is whoever wins. It doesn't matter who wins. Okay, we all have riders we support and others we don't. The only thing we really want is good racing, and both in the sprint and here in this race. Okay, Bezzecchi ran away a little bit, but still, even I hope he doesn't carry on running away. I mean, good luck to Bezzecchi. I'm happy if he wins, but I kind of hope it stays close. I kind of hope it shows we get different outcomes, and I kind of hope that when we get to different circuits, I mean, remember 2020, I think was my favorite, where every single time we had a new race, we had no idea what was going to happen. You had no idea what the outcome. There was no clear favorite. There was no clear kind of manufacturer favorite, and we kept getting all these different winners. And that I think was like the number one. That I would love to see, where you don't know what's going to happen. And already Thailand, when the Thailand ran race happened, it was weird. I mean, everything kind of turned around. Let's hope that beyond whoever wins, let's just hope that is the kind of number one goal.
Toprak and Jack Miller, they did manage to win with tuk-tuks. Sadly, I predict that will be the only win for the season.
And they were slightly faster than the Yamahas, so...
I thought they managed it well. They're kind of used to it.
Yeah, I mean, they're such characters. And you need those people there. Toprak and Miller and Jack Miller. They're the two biggest characters in the pits, and you kind of wish that they were up front. What I will say about Toprak, okay, and again, people say, "Oh no," I already see social media. "Oh no, Toprak," as we thought back of the grid. Yeah, okay, but I'm looking at his sort of trajectory. Remember that at the test he was absolutely struggling and he was way behind, and yet. I did have live timing going during the race, so what I do is on the TV I've got the race showing, and then on my phone I've got live timing, and I'm keeping an eye on it. And the four Yamahas for most of the race were within sight of each other. So I think the four Yamahas were about 2 to 3 seconds apart from Quartararo at the front. Then four riders back to Razgatlioglu was between 2 and 3 seconds, all kind of spaced out. So they were there within range of each other. So Razgatlioglu was 2 or 3 for most of the race, stayed around 2 or 3 seconds behind Quartararo, who is a damn good rider, and he still could possibly be. I mean, if he won one of the top machinery, it's possible he could be the best rider on the grid right now. We don't know, or at least we all know he would be somewhere near the front. So the fact that Toprak was able to kind of stay within range of these guys, it kind of shows something. He's improving, and already now between the test and now, how much he's improved. The tires all went to hell. Miller's tire absolutely disintegrated. Razgatlioglu eventually finished ahead of him, and then right at the end he dropped off a lot. Razgatlioglu also dropped off a lot. Again, this is all learning. This is all set up. This is all figuring it out. Everybody's kind of doing it. So, but still, in terms of his actual pace, he was able to kind of hang in there. He was able to get close, and he is improving. Unfortunately, look, he is on that Yamaha. I kind of wish he was on one of the other bikes right now. I'd love to see Razgatlioglu up there with the rest, but he is part of the Yamaha journey, and let's see if Yamaha improves. By the way, the best Yamaha was 30 seconds behind the leader. That's Quartararo.
They possibly are running at 850.
Maybe, but they've got a lot of work to do, those guys. Just another one, Diego Moreira was top, what's it called, rookie, although not really fair. He's on a Honda, Razgatlioglu's on a, on the Yamaha, but he was 5 seconds behind Zarco on another Yamaha. He was just a little bit behind Bastianini on the other KTM. Where is it? 5 seconds behind Marini. So again, Diego Moreira, the Brazilian, also very, very strong rookie ride, even though he did finish 13th. yeah, and he beat all the Yamahas, of course. Plus, he also beat Vinales, who had a I don't know what was going on there. Vinales, the problem with Vinales, he is a very kind of finicky rider. He needs things to be right. The moment something goes a bit wrong, he falls to pieces. And we've seen that before. And we were kind of interested because he had Lorenzo as his new rider coach, and there were all these videos in the off-season of him training and riding on go-kart tracks and riding on remote control car tracks and in the rain and cones. And we were kind of like, how's this going to work? So far, not well. He finished 16th. He was 34 seconds behind the leader, stuck in between all the Yamahas who are riding, I don't know, they're on blue painted wheelbarrows right now. So something really bad happened there. I haven't really seen what it is yet, but yeah, so Vinales not so good, but I think they will fix it. Vinales will get better, but okay, not great.
And Aprilia's got this new leash of speed. There is a ex-world champion in the factory garage there in Jorge Martin. Obviously, we all know he didn't manage to race last year. The Aprilias are running really fast. He ended up top 5 today. And he's going to be stepping off a fast bike, possibly going to the worst bike on the grid.
Well, no, okay. You know what's really interesting? So they had all these preseason. Oh my God! Look, this guy's going there. That guy's going there. That guy's going there, and everybody kind of thought, well, the season's wrapped up in the beginning, before the season's even started. And yeah, we've just had the first round, and not a single rider announcement yet. The only one we do know for sure is Bezzecchi, who's staying with Aprilia. So all of these big rumors. Oh, he's definitely going there. He's definitely going there. He's definitely. None of it has been confirmed. I mean, if they were signed, when people said it's definitely signed, the announcements would have happened by now. They would have gotten out of the way, but no one's announced anything. So exactly. I do think the teams very cleverly have kind of said, okay, wait, no, everybody chill out. And I'm sure there's people talking, and I'm sure there's intentions and all of that. But again, yeah, for example, they said Bagnaia definitely going to Aprilia. Definitely, it's signed. It's definitely happening. Are we sure Aprilia still want that after this race? Are you sure Aprilia is still looking at this going, yep, that's definitely our man?
And just like last time, Don, last but not least, the Japanese samurai, the Hondas.
Well, not least because Yamaha's lost at least right now. Honda's going, oh, thank goodness Yamaha.
They weren't quite tuned.
But it's amazing how things have changed. I mean, in the sort of beginning of of Grand Prix, 50s, 60s, until the sort of 70s, it was all the European brands doing well. Then the Japanese took over, the European brands took a back seat, and it was all about Japanese. Now we're back to European brands again. I mean, the top Japanese bike was Luca Marini in 10th. That's amazing, isn't it? And and on those Hondas, and Luca Marini was 19 seconds behind. The only one who was running well was Mir, who was up to, I think, 7th or so. But he had some sort of rear tire problems. Now, it's possible that he just overworked his rear tire. I mean, I haven't really spoken about what happened, but he sat up and eventually left. Maybe overcooked it, maybe they overdid it, maybe that's why he was so quick. I don't know. We don't know. But the Honda's not. Again, we'll see. This is a tough track. Honda also used to always struggle with rear end grip, and when you struggle with rear end grip, this is a track that doesn't really help you. So this might be a very bit of a flunky track for Honda. Again, we'll see the next one. We're going to Brazil after this. So it's a track. These bikes and none of these riders have ever been. I think the last time they went to this track, it's the Atsensena circuit. It's not the same as the Formula One track. A few people were asking me that. The last time we were there, I think, was 2004, when Rossi was Rossi versus Gibernau and Biaggi. So none of the current crop of riders have ever been there. It's an interesting sort of circuit. Its layout has a few interesting little kinks to it, and literally there's a kink or two. And I think that's going to be, and that is going to be very different to this circuit. That's going to be a completely new ballpark. It's a lot more. There's a lot more kind of sweepy corners. And that's going to have a very different dynamic required, a very different riding, very different setup, very different characteristics. So I think we might see a bit of a jumble up there for that one. But I'm excited. New track's always very cool. A lot of interesting things happen, and again, we don't know what's going to happen in the next race. I have no idea who's going to win. Bezzecchi looks very strong now, but is he going to carry on being strong on a very different kind of circuit? I have no idea, which is great. It's what we want. It's what we get into this for, and I'm very excited. I can't wait.
And Trackhouse, I'm impressed with Trackhouse.
Well, yeah, I mean, the two riders did opposite things. Raul, as I call him, Fernandez, very quick at the beginning of the race. Then his tire cooked, and he went backwards at the end. Ayaguru went backwards at the beginning of the race, and then stormed through at the end. I mean, I'm just looking. He was back in like 10th, 11th. He was back with Binder and Bagnaia. Then he came through. He got up to Martin. He was right behind Jorge Martin. Who was in the podium battle sort of at the beginning. He was right behind Jorge Martin. Probably another lap he would have been passed up into fourth. Whereas Raul, his teammate, was chasing the leader Bezzecchi in the beginning. He was back with Bagnaia, Binder, all of that. And at the end, Fernandez was third, Agura was fifth, and there were 3 seconds between them. So that's a very interesting dynamic, a very different approach. I don't know whether it's riding styles or the way they set it up, but maybe the two of them should find like a bit of an average to kind of be faster throughout the race. They should both go into each other's data, put them all together, mix it together, and then they'll have like a kind of a good average. But it is quite interesting. But again, it just shows that the Aprilia is sort of, at this track right now, is sort of where the Ducatis were, the sort of bike that's fast for everybody. And yeah, we'll see how that pans out for the rest of the season.
Interesting strategy there from Aprilia indeed, Donovan. Donovan, thank you so much for your insight and your a little bit behind the scenes knowledge that you bring to us. I hope you have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you again at our next recording.
See you all next time.
Hey guys, thank you very much for watching us. If you do like what we do, smash that, click and subscribe, and the comment section is there, and we try to get back to you on comments. So let us know what you think about us, and we'll try and communicate it back. And if there's anything you want us to talk about, let us know. Until next time, keep the rubber side down.